What's up guys, welcome to new Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today we're gonna be working on the second part for my boss fight tutorial, which you gave a lot of love. So in this video, we're gonna be going ahead and adding some impact Niagara effects and also some meta sounds to enhance this fight. It's going to be a very easy video to follow, so let's get started. Alright, so as you can see, I already have created my Niagara folder, which I have a dust texture, and I tried to leave the same dust texture that I'm using here in the description, but basically it is just a PNG image of just dust, okay, which we will use to create the Niagara material to then go ahead and add it to the particles. And then we also have the audio, which will basically have a stomp. I don't know if you can hear with the recording, but basically it's a little stomp, okay, for our big golem. And then we have this boss fight music, nothing crazy, okay. So with that said, I'm gonna try to also leave these two audios in the description so you can use the same as me, but of course you can use other textures and other sounds. Anyway, let's get started by enhancing this combat scene, okay, which I'm gonna make sure that the guy follows me, by just adding some Niagara effects when he attacks and boom, splashes to the ground. So for this, what I am going to do is go into the Niagara folder. As you can see, I already have this dust texture. So let's go and create a new material that we will apply to the Niagara particle. So let's right click on this texture and create a material. Let's name this material something as m_dust. And now let's open this up. So we have here our material and we have our texture just plugged into the base color. Good. So first of all, let's change the material properties, right? We want this to have transparency, as well, you know, our texture will have a background, right? Well, will not have a background. So let's go to the blend mode. I'm going to change this to translucent. And now if I plug in the alpha to the opacity, you can see that it is actually transparent in some areas. And that is when there's no dust. So with that, like that, I can just apply save, and that's it. Now I can use this, you know, material into whatever side. As you can see, it will add dust in certain parts. Now in this case, of course, it isn't for the floor, it's for Niagara particles. So let's begin creating the Niagara system. So for this, let's right click on the content browser, go and select the Niagara system, and select from a selected emitter, which is basically creating like a type of template. And now we're gonna go down until we see omnidirectional burst. Add it, finish, and let's call this ns_ just dust impact, and let's call this big, and it's gonna be the big one. Okay, so let's open this up, and we are basically using this template, which is just an omnidirectional burst. Okay, so a burst will just spawn some particles one time, and omnidirectional will go in all directions, which is kind of what we want. So the first thing that we need to do is go and change the material, right, the texture for this particles. So in this case, we can go into this node where we have all of the, you know, little components about the particles, we could say. I'm gonna go into the render side, and we can see we have a sprite renderer where we just need to change the material. So let's search now our m_dust and select this, and as you can see, it's here. Now it's very, very little, so I'm gonna go into the initialize particle and just change the size. So you can see we're getting this random value between 3 and 7. Let's increase it, right, from around 35 to 50. And as you can see, the particles are way bigger, which just looks way nicer. Now still, this looks absolutely very, very ugly, and if I go and drag it to the scene, right, we are getting something, but yes, it is basically a bit ugly, right? I mean, we're getting something right now. So first of all, let me go and just apply a bit more of velocity, right? So maybe between 250 and this. So now we have a bit more of, you know, velocity. It will go a bit up. I'm gonna change also the initial particle in lifetime. Gonna make it like 1 and 1.2, so it will not last so long. Now another thing that you can basically see is that they're getting smaller, but they're not fading away. And we actually have a scale color, as you can see, change the alpha over time, but it's not happening. They just shrink. Why is that? Well, that's because in our material we need to add a specific node, which is the particle color node, and this will basically receive all of these parameters changing as the scale color and any others that we do. So in this case, we can get the RGB and times it by the RGB of the texture, and that way we can fade it out with that. And let me just go and align all this, and then I also want to do the same with the alpha, right? So drag this and just basically put the A here, and this into the opacity. And that's it. Now you will see that actually they will also fade away. It's not very noticeable, maybe you don't notice a difference, but they actually now fade away, which looks pretty nice. And of course you can control if they fade away before or after with this parameter. And also of course in here it looks a tiny bit better, which is you know, pretty important in this case. We can also change a bit the sphere rotation, right? We can make it smaller, or by the other hand bigger, right? But they'll of course be a bit more separated. So maybe what we can do instead is, apart from also increasing this, we can go into the burst and increase this to maybe like 200 particles, right? We will have double them, but it will look a bit better. And of course for performance, we're gonna change this to use the GPU instead of the CPU, even though we just, you know, spawning some sprites, right? We're gonna go into the simulation target and change it to GPU. Now we'll have a warning that we need to basically fix the bounds. Well, we can just change the calculate bounds option to fixed, and that's it. Okay, it's basically just changing how far away the particles can go. Right now there's like a fixed boundary, but it will not impact us in any way for this small simulation. So well, now we actually have some effects, which is pretty cool, that we can start using. Now let's go and apply this, right, effect whenever we attack. So in this case, as you can see, we have this guy, right, which will come to us and basically kind of do this thing, and it will kind of impact on the floor. So a very clever thing that we can do is directly implement this in the animation, right? So if I go and find the animation, or easier, I can just open the AI with Ctrl E, go to the attack and access the montage with this button. I can open the montage up, and now what I can do is add a specific one here, right, notify, where it will go ahead and land. So in this case, boom, around here's where we fire. We can see we already have the notify here. So let's add a new track for notify, and this will be effects, and in this case it will be the Niagara effects. So I can put it exactly where we have our notify, which you may remember, which is when you actually do the line trace and everything like that. So it's right click, add notify, and now there's a specific notify for Niagara. So there we go, Niagara particle effect. Now let's select our ns underscore dust, and now as you can see it will actually spawn it here. Now it is all bugged out. Why? Well, that's because the scaling is a bit different, as you can see. So we need to basically change a bit where it is placed, right, on here. So first of all, we need to add a location offset, maybe 200 up. Now it's a bit hard to see it on here, but okay, that's way too much actually. So maybe like around 10 will be a bit better, because basically it's spawning a bit too much inside of the ground. And okay, that's a bit better. That's a bit better, but I think, yeah, spawning too much in the ground, as you can see. So we're gonna maybe add around 35. That would be a bit better. This is also just trial and error and seeing what looks a bit better. And this does look a bit better. As you can see, the scale is also changing. It's maybe a bit too big. So I'm gonna change this to maybe around 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. And let me also increase this a bit more to maybe 45 over here, right? So the scale is changing because the mesh scale is actually changing. That's why it's a bit different. As you can see now, this is happening over here. Now there's another option, and is to have a bit more of control. We can directly implement it in our actor, and then just put it on the notify begin and specify a component which will have the specific location on here. And actually that will be a bit more convenient because we can control a bit more than this type of notify. But I just wanted to also cover the notify way because it's very easy, as you can see, to implement well, Niagara effects or sounds in certain parts of our montages through the notifies track, right? But in this case, as you can see, it might not be suitable, even though it makes sense, right? Because, well, we can have more control from outside. So I just wanted to quickly just cover that, even though we are not gonna be using that method. So now let's go to the boss, and let's go and basically add but I think the attack position will actually work, which is where kind of the attack will land, right? So we're gonna be using this position to spawn here this Niagara effect. So right on the sequence where we go and, you know, first of all do the sphere trace, then we play the camera shake, then we will spawn this particles on, you know, if I begin. So let me go and do a spawn system at location, and system is basically Niagara system, right? Make sure to not connect this because they're different outputs. Okay, even though they're very close to each other, you might confuse, but there we go. Let's put it like that way. And then I just want to, of course, search for a NS dust, and then get the attack pause, and then get the weld location of this component, right? And now that can go into location. Rotation and scale can be the same. Auto destroy, activate it, auto activate, activate it, and then the pull, auto release. So we'll reuse and save some performance. But anyway, with that said, now I can go and you can see that I will spawn it, and with the correct position and scaling, which is pretty good. So that makes sense. Now maybe what I can do is adjust a bit to kind of decrease the location, because it's a bit too high. So maybe if I decrease, I don't know, 15 units downwards, it'll look a bit better, because it was like a bit underground, and that looks, yeah, that looks a bit better, as you can see. And another thing that we can do is go to the dust and basically just multiply the base RGB, right, by, sorry, not the base RGB, but the base alpha of this mesh, this texture, to be a bit less, because right now it's a bit too let's say opaque, right, too strong. And if we lower the opacity, it's a bit more faded, as you can see, which looks a bit better. Now this is also being impacted by default by the scale color. So another way that we can do is just make it not fully opaque from the start, and now, as you can see, it will actually be a bit more faded, and it looks way nicer in my opinion. Now I'm gonna also increase this a bit more. Maybe 25 is a better option, right? A bit more downwards, and yeah, that looks way better. And of course we can maybe, you know, make it even a bit bigger by just changing to 1.2, 1.2, and 1.2, and now the effect will be slightly bigger and just a bit nicer overall. But honestly, it's looking pretty cool. Now let's also go and play the cool particle effect. So I'm gonna close the texture and close the Niagara effect. We're done with that for now, but let's go and also play a sound at the same point. So what I am going to do is basically move a bit this health down, so we have a more space, and move this components, right, or nodes, better said, a bit downward, so we can see them a bit better. Drop this, put this here, put this here. All right, there we go. And then this, I can get rid of that and connect it downward, and there we go. And just expand this comment, right? It's important to have everything organized, right? Anyway, so with that said, now what we're going to do is also go and play a sound at location, right? What sound we want to play? Well, of course, it's going to be the stomp. Now, in this case, if we do it like this and just plug in the get actor location, right, we can go and press play, and the stomp will happen. It's not so loud. I'm gonna increase the volume by going to volume 1.5 maybe, so you can hear it right now. And you can see that there are two problems. The first one is that it is not happening in a 3D space, it's in 2D. So if I was like at the other point of the map, I would still hear the stomp like if it was right next to my ear, and we don't have a sense of immersion. And also another thing is that it is too repetitive, right? And if we were to change the pitch every time a bit randomly, we could make the actor basically like variations with one sound. And it's actually the approach that we're gonna be taking with Metasounds. But before, let's make it on 3D. So to make a 3D sound in Unreal, what we can use is in sound attenuation. So if we go to sound attenuation, I can name this SA and an underscore, and let's just name this something as boss, right? Open this up, and now I'm gonna, you know, place everything by default and put the inner radius to be a bit smaller, and the max one is gonna be like around 3500. I think it will work, right? So this is the distance that it will go outwards. So then I can go and apply attenuation over here, and you will see that actually this will be playing in 3D. Now it might not be noticeable in the video, but it's actually now in 3D. And anyway, with that said, now we're gonna make it so it will change slightly the pitch every time. So we're gonna do that through a meta sound, so we don't have some code over here with the pitch, and we have it a bit more organized. So let's right click, go into audio, and then we can create a meta sound source. Let's name this something at ms_stomp and open this up. So as you can see, we have this really cool meta sound graph, right? Which is a bit different from normal blueprints. So what we can do is basically just add a wave player mono node. select our stomp, and then just plug in the out into output, and then the unfinished to unfinished, so we know when the sound has stopped playing, right? With that said, now the file should play like normal, but we're gonna go ahead and change the random, so we can just make a random float, plug it to next, plug it to a next, and there we go. So the minimum will be something as -2 and the maximum 2, and now we have some variations. It isn't so noticeable, but it's actually changing every time. Now let's go to source, attenuation, and apply this attenuation. And now with that, I can go here, get rid of the attenuation because now it is by default. So I don't know why it doesn't give me the option to get rid of it. Let me just add a play sound at location and delete this one. And now I'm gonna select the ms_stomp. And now it is way more organized and it has all of the sound logic, which makes sense. All the meta sound is served. So if we want to change this, we will do it from here. And we don't need to basically copy the random float node every time that we want to play a stomp, right? We have it all at one place. So now with that said, it is way more efficient. Now it's a bit too low, so what we need to do is maybe increase the volume. We can also do that on source sound and directly change it from here once again. So maybe like 1.5 will be a bit more optimum. That's definitely way better. Cool. And then also for the boss, I'm gonna play around a bit with the line trace. It's a bit too long, right, going forward. So maybe like 1500 will be better. Yes, that's way better. But I mean, it's still a bit too much, honestly. Like overall, it goes very far away. But you know, it's a bit better, honestly. Okay, so yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so that said, that is now working. We have some stomps and some Niagara effects, but let's go and add some cool music. So as you can see, I have this music, and the first thing I'm going to do is enable looping. And then I'm going to go and open up the game mode. So if we go to world settings, I'm using the default third-person game mode. So let's open this up, and I'm going to open the full editor, blueprint, go here, and I'm going to add a begin play. So when the game starts, the game mode will have the option to basically play a sound. But to have more control, we can instead use a spawn sound 2D, right? 2D because it's music. And this will basically return a value. And what we can do with this value is later on maybe stop the music, do things, right? Because if we do play sound, right, it will not get an output. And we cannot then, for example, change the volume of the music or stop it, things like that. Anyway, now let's go ahead and apply the boss fight music. Maybe drop the volume to 0.5 because probably will be pretty loud. And then it works. It's even too loud. Maybe like 0.1 even will be a better option. Yeah, that's better. And there we go. So that's going ahead and working. Maybe 0.2 is a bit better. You can play around with the volume. Oh, so it goes very far away. You know why? Because the mesh is scaled. So I'm gonna drop this to around like 500 on the trace. That should be a bit better. Yeah, it's way better, as you can see. It only gets you to that distance. Cool. So that is going ahead and working, which is very, very nice. We have music, we have stops, some Niagara effects. Everything is going ahead and working, which is pretty cool. Now let's also make some Niagara effects so when we hit him, right? So first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and just change the forward duration to none on the boss, and also I'm gonna go into the third-person character blueprint and disable the line trace debug. So now I don't see that traces when he attacks. Let me try to make him see. There we go, and it looks a bit nicer, which is really cool. So with that said, I'm going to go into the Niagara folder and basically duplicate the dust impact, but it's gonna be the small one, right? And this small one will have some differences. First of all, the lifetime will be way smaller, so from 0.5 to 0.8, so it will last longer in the air. Then the particles will basically be a bit smaller, maybe like from 25 to 35. And then we will also have basically less particles, so maybe like 120, something like that, right? So now we have this effect, which is basically less. And also I'm gonna go and change the scale color to have the alpha always way less, right? So it will kind of be also a little more hidden. Alright, so now with that said, I'm gonna go into the third person character. I'm gonna be applying the same logic of spawning the Niagara system, but in this case, instead of just in the get world location, it will be at the impact point, or better, the location of what we have impacted with. So I'll go ahead and make a little challenge over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and make you guys do this for me, okay? So you want you to add the same logic that we did for our boss of basically going ahead and doing this, right? Spawning the system allocation, selecting the small one, and then just plugging this at the impact point or location. So go ahead and try this. We will cover this in a second. Alright, so now here, right after we apply damage, we're gonna go ahead and just add something. Now, the thing that we've do it on the applied damage, it will only appear if we actually have applied damage to an object and hit it something. In this case, we don't have any tags of if we can, we can only apply damage to pawns or whatsoever, so we'll be fine. But in other cases, you might have other branches over here, conditions like is it pawn, is it tag, enemy, things like that. So in that case, we want to make a sequence, but in this case, we're good to go. So let's add a, sorry, not play, but spawn system at location. And the system will basically be the impact point or location, whatever you prefer. And then, with that said, what I can do is leave the rotation like this, scale like this, auto release, everything by default, and of course select the ns_dust small this time. And now when I go and shoot, he will actually appear this fog, which is pretty cool. And I kill him in 2 seconds. Let's drop the base damage to maybe like 5, and also we're gonna change a bit of the spamming, right? So we cannot spam. So I'm gonna do a do once node over here, and then we're gonna make a custom event, which is gonna be reset attack, and we will only call reset attack basically like I don't know, like 5 seconds after we did this, right? So we can make a sequence over here, well, not 6 seconds, right? But like maybe 0.3 seconds, right? I'm gonna call reset attack. So we will only basically go ahead and not reset attack, there we go. We will only go ahead and do this once, and then after 3.3 seconds we will reset it, right? So we can do it again, right? Using the do once now. So now I cannot basically spam click, and it's way better, as you can see. So that's cool. All right, cool. And as you can see, his thumbs and everything goes ahead and work. So cool. Now let's go ahead and add one final thing, which is gonna be some sounds for him being damaged and also for the player. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so what I have done is imported this, where it's in Niagara blood texture, as you can see, right? So it's PNG, I will try to link in the description. And then we also have all the audios, which is the robot hit. It's like a metal hit. And we also have player damage. Cool, so with that said, let's go ahead and finish up this. So first of all, let's add the hits. Now again, I'm gonna be using a Metasound. So because we have already one created, we can just duplicate this and name it something as robot hit. Open this up and just name this robot hit. Find the audio and then just play it. It works, save, close. I'm gonna duplicate this and name this something as player damage. Open this, the same thing, just find player damage and then check it out. Works perfectly. Cool, so now I'm gonna go into the boss, right? Sorry, third person, and run on here where we impact. I'm gonna also play sound at location, right? And what this will be the ms_robot hit at this specific location, right? And I also make sure, okay, yeah, we don't need the attenuation because it's already on the meta sound, right? Good. Now the sound will play even though we're not going ahead and impacting a boss. So what I'm going to do is do the thing that I explained, which is getting the hit actor and then just check hashtag. So let's add a new tag. Let's name it something as boss and just add a branch over here. And now we need to add that tag to our boss actor, right, blueprint, and it has to be spelled exactly the same. So I'm go into boss class defaults tag. I can add an actor tag, which is boss, and it has to be exactly the same. Make sure you spell it the same. Good. With that said, now this will work if I go and that's working. Cool. And now also I'm gonna go into the boss and do the same. So I'm gonna actually go and go here, and when we basically add damage, I'm gonna do a play sound at location. This sound will be now the player damage, right? The MS player damage at this location. It will already have the automation, things like that. And because it only will detect objects, which is the pawn, it will only actually play it when it actually detects an object, which is pretty cool. So now if he sees me, attacks, and hits me, that's working. Now it's very loud, so let me decrease the sound to just 1. Or even less, I don't know, like 0.8. It's a bit better. And then also let's go and kind of launch the character a bit backwards when he receives damage, right, as a bonus. So let me go create a custom event, and it will be something as damage push, right? And this will basically be the launch. Actually, we can do this from the boss. Actually, it's gonna be better because we will get the direction of the boss, right? So it will be a bit better in that case. So I can go into the sphere trace, get the head actor, right, and do a launch character. Now actually I cannot do a launch character from here because we don't know what type of actor it is. It has to be a character. So I'm gonna make the exception is cast to character, and now I can basically access the launch one, right? So launch, if I know how to type, character. Alright, so this will basically apply some force to this character. So, I'm saying, wait, you're not casting to BP third person character. Well, the thing is that third person character is from the class character, so that's why I can access this. Anyway, so now this will basically contain the get actor rotation, get forward vector, and then times it by a value, as we do with the line traces, right? To apply some force, float. And this will be something as, I don't know, 350. And then we will also apply another one upwards, right? So I'm gonna get the rotation once again, get the up vector, all right? And then I go ahead and copy paste this, plug it here, and this will be like 120. And it will basically push it backwards, or basically the opposite direction of the player, and add some force upwards. So now if I receive damage, that is working, as you can see. We need to add a bit more, maybe like 700, or that's way too much. I don't know. Let's test. Oh, that's great. Alright, so now we just need some blood left. So let's go to Niagara, and what I'm going to do is right click, create a new Niagara system from my template. Let's go and select once again the omnidirectional burst. Let's go and finish it. NS player damage. Open this up, and now what I want to do is also create the blood texture. So I'm gonna do it easier and just duplicate the M dust and name it M blood. Open this up and change this texture to the blood, and that's it. We will have the same structure that we had before, so it's a bit faster. Then let's go and select the blood material on the new particle effect. Let me go and make this bigger, maybe like 25 and 35, and then I'm gonna go ahead and change the lifetime to maybe like 0.5 and 0.7, and then we can basically add maybe like 200 of them instead, and overall just make them a bit less opaque, and that's it. That should be pretty good. I mean, I like it. Let's see. Oh, sorry, not the not the material, but the player damage. Yeah, that looks very, very good. So I'm gonna go now to the boss, and apart from latching the character, I'm gonna basically spawn system and location. What system it will be? Well, of course, it will be the MS player damage, or blood, whatever you want to call it, and then this will be at impact point, and then auto release, and that's it. And this will only occur if it's the player, because we are launching, casting to the character. So if it's not a character, it will not work. All right, And that's working, as you can see, which is pretty cool. And that's actually gone ahead and working, so great. So that's it, guys. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it. You could like the video and subscribe to my channel. And we might have full access to the profiles and tutorials in the description. And if you want a third part of this boss fight tutorials, right, where we add an environment and fine tune this, let me know in the comments below. I hadn't, have not in mind like making a second part, but you loved the first episode, so this is why we're here. Join my Discord server, follow me on my socials, and now, yes, with all that said, bye bye.